The more at home we are in the Old Testament, the better prepared we are to read and understand fully the New Testament. So the more that we are steeped in the scriptures of Israel, know its language, know its themes, know its characters, know the verses themselves, the words that are used, then when we get to the New Testament, what happens is we begin to pick up on all of these echoes, allusions, and quotations from the Old Testament that are woven into the very fabric of the New Testament. Now, I want to give you an example of this today from Deuteronomy 18 and then from the Transfiguration account. And to kind of get us to thinking about this, the way this works where texts are connected one with another and where an author will include something that he wants us to connect with an earlier story. Just think about the way this works even in today's modern culture. So our minds are like a sponge and they're soaking in all kinds of words and phrases and images from music, from TV shows, from movies. And if you know these stories well, all it takes is just a short snippet, maybe one quote or even a phrase from one of these stories in order for you to hear it, to know who said it, to make the connection, to know where it fits into the bigger narrative of the movie, the TV show, or the novel, or whatever it might be. For instance, and these are examples from older movies, but think about life is like a box of chocolates. Well, that one sentence, of course, sends you back to the movie Forrest Gump. And you know who said it, you know kind of the reason that he said it, you know where it fits into the story. Or if I say just two words, my precious, then chances are, if you know Lord of the Rings, then you know that's what Gollum says. And you know the whole story and kind of where that fits into the story. And or if I say, here's Johnny, then if you've seen The Shining, of course, you know who said it, you know the scary context in which it's said, all that kind of stuff. And these are just very short phrases, but you see the way that works. When your mind has soaked these in, when you know these stories, then it doesn't take much for you to say, I know where that's from. I know where this fits into that bigger story. Okay, it's like that with the Bible. The more that we watch the Bible movie over and over and over, the more that we hear the dialogue, the more that we know the geography, the more that we know the words themselves, the themes, all these kinds of things, then the better prepared we are to have ears that actually hear these echoes and allusions to the Old Testament in the New Testament. So, to the example from today. Deuteronomy 18, which is one of the chapters we read today, if you're reading through the Bible with me, Deuteronomy 18, verse 15, has Moses saying this, "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your brothers. It is to him you shall listen." Now, that verse is important enough to have been quoted both by Peter in Acts chapter 3 and by Stephen in Acts chapter 7. And that last phrase, you shall listen to him, I would argue, is what God himself is alluding to in the Transfiguration account when he speaks from the cloud. And he says, this is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him. Now, I went back and I checked the Greek in Matthew 17, and I checked the Greek translation, the Septuagint, of Deuteronomy 18, and the same verb is used. It's a different form. It's akuo. It means to hear. It means to listen. Now, in Deuteronomy 18, it's in the future form, which makes sense because, of course, this is a prophet who is to come in the future. So you shall listen to him when he comes. But in the Transfiguration account, same verb. It's just here an imperative. Listen to him. But if you put these two together and you know Deuteronomy 18 and you hear God say that, you're like, I know what God is saying. God is saying not only that this is his son, not only that this is his beloved son, not only the son in whom he is well pleased, but it's also the prophet, like Moses, spoken of in Deuteronomy 18:15, to whom we are to give heed, to whom we are to listen. So that's the way it works over and over and over in the New Testament. And that's why I'm constantly encouraging you to spend lots of time in the Hebrew Scriptures, to steep yourself in these stories, in these characters, in these dialogues, in the Psalms, in the Proverbs, because the more they are part of you as a student of the Bible, then the more prepared you are to hear them in the New Testament, and in so doing to understand more fully exactly what the New Testament writer is getting across, and ultimately then to understand better who Jesus is and what he came to accomplish in his life, death, and resurrection on our behalf, because in him all the promises of God are yes. Everything from Moses, through the prophets, through the Psalms, everything was pointing toward him, who is the yes and the amen to the promises of God.